Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah, baby. That's lovely.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Hello and welcome to the Reefer Reporters with Glenn Prentice and myself, Al Graham. It's July the 7th, 2022, and we are live here from the Legacy420.com news desk on the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network, found at paceradio.net. Good morning, Glenn. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. I see both of us are in, we have different backgrounds. Maybe we're different locations, but you obviously, I know, are at a different location. Not only just a different background, but you are on the road again, my friend.
Yes, I'm in a hotel just outside of Montreal, just east of Montreal, on my way to Ontario.
Oh. Are you riding the bike back again?
I wish I was. I would have a lot more fun. I'm driving a little SUV.
Are you?
It's a lot more fun with the wind on a bike.
Yeah, but this time you got some company with you.
This is true. This is true. You can't have too much company on a bike, especially when you're a beginner. I'm not allowed to have a passenger.
Right, exactly. So you're in a hotel in Montreal, and I'm outside, just at my place here, outside on the deck.
Beautiful spot.
Yes, out here where the weather is nice, and I'd like to be sitting in the sunshine, but it's too sunny. Like, it's just so much glare I can't see, and it's bright on the eyes. So I got here in the shade. I'd rather show you some nice green trees in the background, but like I said, it's just too much sun.
Too much of a good thing, eh?
Too much of a good thing, exactly. Well, we should get this story started so that when we get started, the sooner we get done, and you can get on the road and get here to Ontario.
Yep, before someone knocks on the door wanting to clean my room.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here we go. First story of the day is hundreds of thousands of Canadians could see their drug possession records disappear.
And it's estimated as many as 250,000 Canadians may have drug possession convictions stemming from cannabis possession alone when it was still illegal. And that may be about to change. Canadians with criminal records for drug possession will see them effectively vanish within the 2 years after the government's criminal justice reform bill becomes law, a move that could affect hundreds of thousands of people.
Criminal records can prevent people from getting jobs, volunteer opportunities, housing, and hinder their ability to travel. The automatic sequestration, in commas or brackets, of drug possession records was made possible due to the new Democratic Party amendment to Bill C-5 and accepted by the government.
I said we needed a better bill. Highest on my list was trying to get rid of criminal records for simple possession, said NDP Justice critic Randall Garrison, who proposed the amendment. They've assured me that in 2 years from the passage of the bill, criminal records for personal possession for all drugs will disappear. For all drugs, that's a new one to me.
That's a new one. Yeah, I was just thinking cannabis, but they say all drugs.
Yeah, that's a strange one to me because the rest of the drugs that they're talking about are still illegal.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can expunge a record for something that's still illegal.
I don't know. I have no clue. Maybe there's going to be more to this story, not only in the rest of this article, but more coming down the road.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay, see, the bill would also repeal mandatory minimum sentences for all drug offenses and some firearm offenses, expand the use of conditional sentences, such as house arrest, and require police and prosecutors to use the discretion to keep drug possession cases out of the courts.
And it's estimated as many as 250,000 Canadians may have their drug convictions stemming from cannabis possession alone when it was still illegal. The government launched a revamped pardon application process for those individuals in 2019. But Garrison said only a few hundred people have been successful. And there's one thing we just missed. They're trying to reduce the over-incarceration of Black and Indigenous people because of this. And I think that's what's the start of this.
Yeah, it says your existing system isn't working. So let's do something simpler. So they have a poll here for people to do. And it says, have your say. Should simple possession result in a criminal record? And the options are, yes, drug possession is a crime. No, it's a minor offense and shouldn't affect someone for the rest of their life.
Yep.
Maybe. It depends on the circumstances of the offense. And I don't know, or none of the above.
Okay, a spokesman for Justice Minister David Lametti, who tabled C5, said Garrison's amendment and others were accepted as our government believed they were essential in improving the bill and accomplishing its objectives. The bill stops short of actually decriminalizing drug possession, something advocates, people who use drugs, and the NDP have long called for.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And Garrison says that while the burden of possession convictions falls heavily on radicalized Canadians and Indigenous Canadians, the same is true of people, or of course, of having those criminal records and not having been able to avail themselves of any convoluted expense process to get rid of them.
Garrison has pushed for the expungement of drug possession records and said the government came back with sequestration, which he said means they won't show up on a criminal record check. But obviously, they're still there then.
It's still going to be there, yeah. The article will explain it here in a second. The argument from the government is that they can't physically destroy the records because they're kept in so many different formats in different places. But they can guarantee they'll never show up again in criminal record checks. He says the government insisted on the 2-year timeline in order to implement the sequestration system.
And the amendment also means that anyone who gets drug possession record after the bill passes will see that record set aside 2 years after the completion of any sentence. Individuals with criminal records who are eligible for pardons currently have to apply, a process that advocates say can be onerous and costly, which is preventing many from doing so. The government has long been urged to come up with an automatic system, but has shown resistance in the past.
The thing I find, I guess, just they say after 2 years, so you got a record for 2 years, and then it disappears.
Yeah, it's a funny way to do it, and I still can't understand if convicted of something that's still illegal, how can they exclude the record? I don't understand how that works.
Well, we'll keep digging here. We'll keep digging.
Even though the government slashed the application fee from $657 to $50 this year, McCallie said there are still other costs associated with having to get various police and court records in order to apply. So anytime we can eliminate the bureaucracy required to secure those human rights protections is a good time, she said.
Exactly. Yeah. Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino, who is responsible for the pardon file, has expressed his support for the sequestration of drug possession records, according to a statement from his office. Consultations had already begun on the automatic sequestration of a wider variety of criminal records, his office said.
And we expect that similar recommendations to MP Garrison's proposal come out of that examination, the statement said. We remain committed to implementing measures that will bring our judicial system closer to eradicate systemic racism, as well as ensuring a more effective and fair justice system for all Canadians.
There you go. Well, we didn't get the answer to your question.
No.
Maybe down the road we will. Maybe the government is working on something.
I think also once those records are ever brought up or requested, shouldn't they expunge them, completely eliminate them out of the files at that time?
Well, yeah. Well, you would think that it would just go in. They could hit delete, right?
Because you know what's going to happen in the future. Someone's going to look up someone's past somehow, and they're going to bring up that drug conviction, even though they're not supposed to have access to it. It's going to happen.
Yeah, because they mentioned it's in so many different formats. So that's why they say that they can't just hit the delete button on the thing.
Yeah.
But I could see where your concern could come in. Sure. Where something gets
still there
and doesn't get into this, into this question, and it's still there. Even though you delete something from the computer, it can still sort of be there. And
it's always there.
that. Yeah, it could show up somewhere. But it's other than that, without an accident or however that would happen, it's good to see because we're always talking about what's going on in the U.S. and it's good to see that finally something's happening here. It's
Yep.
too bad, I think, that people have to wait 2 years for that to be removed, or sequestered. So, all right, on to the next story. This one's from Mugglehead Magazine. Headline says, underrepresented communities face 5 major systematic barriers to get a pot license, according to Health Canada.
Yeah, after gathering and learning from Indigenous and underrepresented communities, Health Canada has identified 5 main barriers for diverse populations to get a cannabis business license. To identify the barriers, the Government of Canada held a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Forum in January 26th to 27th, where external industry experts and racialized communities participated in an open conversation to reach conclusions and learn about the barriers that hamper diverse applicants to join in the industry.
On Tuesday, the agency sent an email to media and forum participants to provide a "what we heard" summary of the forum and found that the main systematic barriers in diversity in the cannabis industry include deficits in data reporting, lack of dedicated resources, lack of proper communications and engagement, stigma, and the lack of affordability. I like those last two. I'd like to see them in there.
Yeah.
Glad to see that.
Yeah. During the forum, attendees and speakers made suggestions for actions to improve opportunities for people from Indigenous and racialized communities to become licensed, grow their businesses, and improve their capacity to meet Health Canada's regulatory requirements. The feedback received was invaluable, and we would like to thank everyone who took the time to meet with us or provided their input through the online survey, reads Health Canada's statement.
While the conversations may have been difficult at times, we appreciate the open, honest, and respectful discussions and the input shared throughout the forum. We also want participants to know that we heard your comments. The agency added that there was also some barriers identified which didn't fall within the agency's mandate, such as excise tax, insurance, loans, and grants, among others.
The agency found that with regards to data reporting, attendees highlighted the need to recurrently monitor diversity statistics, provide evidence and licensing obstacles, as well as the need to provide evidence on government initiative to improve the licensing process and support individuals experiencing barriers. The What We Heard summary also identified that by developed dedicated diversity programs, individuals from racialized and underrepresented communities would be benefited greatly.
This would involve the creation of dedicated pathways for individuals from racialized groups to receive support, to build programs, resource to improve their business practices, to meet regulatory requirements, as well as build relationships with educational institutions that offer cannabis-related programs. As for the barriers in license identified, the agency outlined that improvements in the process include receiving information from Health Canada in a timely fashion, developing cultural competent communication support for applicants, such as cultural training to licensing staff, as well as awareness and knowledge of social cultural factors.
Given that there is still stigma towards Indigenous and racialized communities that use weed, the agency suggested that public education can help shift attitudes. There should be continued efforts to inform the public regarding cannabis as a legal product and a legitimate industry, wrote the agency. Finally, the agency identified that wealth inequity excludes many individuals from applying to licenses, and challenges to access financing being the most significant barrier for diverse populations. And I share that's probably the most significant barrier for any populations.
That's right, yeah. Health Canada says the barrier could be addressed by providing access to information on financial resources that support licensing pathways, and by building industry networks for potential applicants and license holders to connect and share information such as personal experiences. Well, there you go. Basically 2 stories back to back that are things that we see often in the U.S. end of things.
And actually 2 positive stories for a change right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly. The sequestration of criminal records, and
Yep.
then helping the communities that have been affected by all this.
Yep.
So it's good to see. Good to see.
Nice to have good stories for a change.
That's right. Exactly. All right. On to our next story, and this one comes to us from StratCan, and the headline says BC to launch direct delivery programs on August the 15th.
The BC government has said its program is focused on assisting the participation of Indigenous and small-scale producers in the legal cannabis market. The program will include 3 types of direct delivery: standard direct delivery, production retail store delivery, direct delivery, and Section 119 direct delivery.
Standard would be the main direct delivery model for BC cultivators producing no more than 3,000 kilograms of dried, unpackaged cannabis or equivalent. The raw materials for any products produced by a processor for direct delivery must be secured for federally licensed BC cultivators or sourced. BC nursery license holders may also be eligible to participate. There is no production volume cap for nurseries and cultivators who produce only live plants and seeds.
Production retail store, which is PRS, will serve as special category of direct delivery and is for direct delivery of cannabis products to a PRS as licensed by the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch. In previous messaging, BC has referred to authorizing farm gate sales through new production retail store license. Section 119 deliveries are specifically for those operating under Section 119 agreement between the province and an Indigenous nation.
The 3,000 kilogram cultivation limit will be calculated by producers providing the province access to internal records at the province's request. Cultivators and processors will be required to keep records of all transactions and be ready to show that all cannabis products sold and delivered under direct delivery originated from the cultivator identified with the specific product at the time of product registration with the LDB.
Production volume will be based on calendar year for the purpose of establishing eligibility for the standard direct delivery program category. The BC LDB's 15% markup will apply to all sales through the direct delivery program as well. Yeah, 15%. This sounds like more government red tape to me.
Didn't that last story talk about how one of the things that they said that has to be improved, and that was the affordability thing? Now we got 15% more tax.
Affordability, and part of affordability is cutting red tape. This seems like we have 3 systems of delivery for the same thing.
Yeah, I know. Okay, let's see. All participating federal license holders will need to register the LBD for the direct delivery program. And BC cannabis retailers who are interested in ordering products through the direct delivery cannabis model can place their orders directly with participating licensed producers. Cannabis products that are offered for sale to retailers must be registered for a direct delivery program by the processor to be eligible for direct delivery. Producers will be responsible for establishing their ordering processes, qualities, and delivering these orders.
Once a producer, cultivator, and or processor and its associated product are registered for direct delivery and it is entered into a supply agreement with an LDB, products may then be registered for direct delivery. The LDB says they expect it to take about several weeks from the time the supply agreement has been signed and accurate product registrations are submitted to the LDB to the time they are approved and activated for direct delivery. Sounds very onerous to me.
Sure does.
More tape and more red tape, and I wonder if alcohol has to go through the same thing. They need a special license just to transport it between themselves.
Yeah, which seems really odd, does it not to you?
Yeah. Got red tape.
Yeah, more red tape. I just got some comments there. I'm just taking the quick boo out of them there. Okay, on to our next story. This one comes to us from CBC, and the headline says, Joint venture, Manitoba cannabis producers team up to package, distribute their own products.
Rather than shipping out of province or paying a big company, small-scale producers team up to help each other. Jesse Lavoie wanted to sell Manitoba-grown cannabis in his home province, but first he had to ship it away. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Working with 7 local companies to produce not-for-profit joints to help fund a legal challenge to the province's cannabis laws, he soon found the process to be needlessly complex and expensive, taking a big bite of the funds he was trying to raise.
Lavoie said the price of shipping 2 kilograms of flower to Ontario to get it processed and sending it back to individual cannabis shops in Manitoba was roughly $1,000, and that didn't include the cost of processing. That's 2 kilograms. Wow.
Yeah. Do you are you aware what he was doing here?
No.
Oh, okay.
He was shipping it
Manitoba,
for process.
like in Quebec, where you can't grow cannabis
Yeah.
recreationally. That's the same thing going on in Manitoba.
Oh,
So
great.
Quebec and Manitoba, they've been taken to court over all this, and this fella has been selling these joints through the stores to raise money for the court challenge in order so that Manitobans can grow recreational cannabis.
Yeah, and the government's taking a big chunk out of his money that he's trying to raise.
Yeah. So this is what he's done. He's kind of trying to come up with a way to save money and keep it in Manitoba. So
Yeah.
continue reading.
That's when we all decided, instead of us all doing this separately through other means, let's come together. Let's form a syndicate, said the Winnipeg entrepreneur. Starting next week, 5 independently owned Manitoba cannabis companies will handle the packaging and delivering themselves, and they'll do it locally. The Toba Rolling Syndicate will pack the cannabis into pre-rolled joints and jars, for example, in one facility and deliver it to the province's cannabis shops together.
It will save each company money, create new jobs, and reduce their environmental footprint, they say. Now, according to Lavoie, he says, we all have similar issues where we're paying big money for shipping or we're paying big corporations to do our processing. And maybe it gets deprioritized, but maybe it doesn't. That's a bunch of different issues that we're trying to get rid of by doing it ourselves. And I couldn't think of a better partners to do it with.
His venture, Toba Grown, is joined by 4 independently owned cannabis producers: Alicanto Gardens, Cypress Craft, Keef Cannabis, and Natural Earth Craft Cannabis. Prior to this arrangement, when you ship to a dispensary, you need to ship to each individual dispensary, Lavoie said. There's over 150 in this province. If you think about 150 packages leaving Ontario to come here, that's crazy money. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Lavoie, he participates at shops will appreciate making one order and getting products from 5 companies. Alicanto Gardens, based in the Morris area, considered becoming a licensed processor to save time and money, but it wouldn't have been cheap, said co-owner Waldemar Heibruck.
Wow, just to make this processing room and all the licensing, we're talking about 10, 20, 30,000 right there, without even blinking an eye. In fact, he once quipped to his family, Lavoie should create some kind of a processing and distributing cooperative with other small-scale producers. It was kind of an in-house joke and never thought about it again. But then Jesse called me up and said, hey, we have this idea, remember Higbritt, who jumped on board right away.
Lavoie is well known in Manitoba's cannabis industry. Under the Toba Grown banner, he took the province to court for banning the production of homegrown recreational cannabis, even though the federal government allows it. He is awaiting a ruling from the Court of Queen's bench.
Lavoie
said this latest collaborative effect is a vote of confidence in Manitoba's cannabis industry. Go ahead.
It symbolizes our commitment to this province, the cannabis consumers in this province, and the dispensaries in this province, and the brands in this province, he said. Of course, our partners have aspirations to go beyond here. Manitoba will be our focus, but we will go there eventually.
The local market is driving Natural Earth Craft Cannabis, a Winnipeg-based processor, which was initially processing cannabis for other companies to sell elsewhere before getting a sales license to sell under its own branding. According to the director, Tim Dorkson, He says we wanted to be part of the local cannabis community, which means having our products on the local cannabis stores shelves.
And he said the total ruling opportunity was almost impossible to say no to. By aligning with other producers and minimizing our sharing costs, he expects a 20% savings on that portion of his business. The extra revenue will help businesses like his expand and support the hiring of 8 new workers to handle the weighing of flour, the rolling of joints, and the labeling of containers, among other duties. Lavoie said the syndicate could hire more people if more businesses sign on.
Cypress Craft Cannabis, run out of the municipality of North Cypress Langford, is hopeful the new relationship will bring their products to more Manitobans. Run out of the municipality. Wow. As a small business run out of a family farm, master grower Bryce Oliver said there's sometimes little time to focus on the distribution part of owning a company where you're busy producing it.
One of our problems is that we don't get off the farm too often. So Toba Rolling is making a lot of relationships across the province. That's going to help us out. The arrangement is possible with the involvement of a licensed producer like Keith Cannabis, which has the authority to be a processor. The Selkirk-based producer has one room set aside for packaging and another room in case of expansion. But Jesse Denton, Keith's founder, said Toba Rolling couldn't have come together without the 5 parties.
He says, from my understanding, we're the first of its kind. I think it speaks volumes into how well connected we are as a province and how well connected we want to be as an industry, especially locally. Oh, there's some doobies all rolled. Oh, there you go. There you go. End of the story.
Yeah, that was a good story. At least they're on their way. I don't understand why they would have to ship it to Ontario in the first place.
Probably because of what they had as license. That was the process that was required for them to do.
More registration, more licensing, more money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It never ends. Let's see. What's up? Next story. Strachan, last story before our break. And the headline says, how are cannabis retailers standing out in the crowd?
Okay, here we go. While Beto O'Rourke and cannabis reforms could win out in November, the state's conservative grip still appears strong. Depending on how you perceive the last few months, Texas may be heading towards a minor liberal reform, or the conservatives could be doubling down on its dominance. The past few months, ranging from gun tragedies to legal decisions to special elections, highlight a busy and somewhat unclear Texas political landscape heading into November.
All right, Glenn, hang on here, buddy. You got the stories mixed up. You're on the Texas story. You should be on another one. This is the how-tos. Remember we talked before the show?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to adjust. All right.
Oh, okay.
I'll adjust it. All right.
I have them backwards then.
Yeah. What's that?
I said I have them backwards. We already went through this twice.
Yes, we did. Exactly. Okay, so you're on the Texas story, so I'll go grab the Texas story.
Sorry.
All right. Hey, that happens, you know. Hey, we're live. What can you do, right? I just got to make sure I got the right story. Right story there. Texas. Here we go. Bringing that up. I think I am.
Do you want me to keep reading till you get it?
Yeah, you keep reading. You keep reading.
The recent back and forth momentum leaves most sources uncertain where Texas will stand post-election day. However, many appear firm on 2 points. Texans are frustrated, and most support legalizing cannabis. No matter the outcome this fall, Texas will remain an overwhelmingly conservative-held Congress. The state has deep GOP ties, with Republican presidential nominees taking the state in every election since 1980.
Still, with frustrations running high across the board, changes of some kind could be on the horizon. February data from the Texas Politics Project listed the border security at 19%, immigration at 12%, COVID at 11%, political corruption at 9%, and the economy at 6% as its top 5 voter issues. March results from the 2022 Texas Legion poll Cited border security as the top trouble spot. Inflation, political corruption, leadership, and energy prices has led at 9%. Cannabis legalization was not mentioned in the list of 25 concerns.
From the shaky electric grid to healthcare access, the economy, endemic corruption, and gun violence, issues are swamping the Texas election cycle, says Susan Hayes, a Democratic candidate for Agriculture Department Commissioner. Hayes says the typical voter likely places cannabis somewhere in the middle of their priorities this voting cycles, but voters consistently raise cannabis reform as an important issue for them, she said.
Jax James, Normal State Policy Manager, says cannabis legalization definitely falls behind gun and abortion rights, adding that property taxes could also considered a high priority for most Texans.
James said the state's current surplus may make legislation less of a concern to those legalization less of a concern to those outside of advocates. In July 2021, State Comptroller Glenn Hagar projected Texas would have a 7.85 billion surplus for the 22 to 23 biennium.
Something like that. Texans could come around on legalization and now seem to be waiting on key lawmakers to do the same. Also across the aisle, voters have supported a legal market expansion for some time. According to James, overarchingly, he says cannabis is truly a fairly bipartisan issue here in Texas.
June 2021 results from the Texas Politics Projects saw 60% of those polled supporting a small or large quantity possession. Just 13% oppose legalization in any form. May 2022 poll from the Dallas Morning News said the University of Texas at Tyler found similar results. 60% of those polled supported adult use legalization, with 83% favoring medical, 42% identified Republicans supported adult use.
Public support hasn't done much to sway Governor Abbott for previous stances. He prefers to see cannabis remain a Class C misdemeanor. James blamed Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who has been linking the squishing reform momentum for several years.
The government has actually negotiated with activists to get a bit more done than has passed, James said. Others offered similar opinions. Texas do seem to want a more robust medical program, similar to Oklahoma, but the current lieutenant governor will not allow cannabis legalization to be brought to the Senate's floor, said Matt Hawkins, founder and managing principal at Entourage Effect Capital. The Tristan Sekel is executive director of the nonpartisan group Decriminalize Denton, one of the cities taking up decriminalization in November. He feels that the rise of local level policy and ballot questions is a response to stalled state level efforts.
Skellett says that people are organizing more and providing support for each other, I think, as a necessary reaction. Medical advocates have also continued to push for changes in its restrictive market. In 2021, the Texas Compassionate Use Program expanded its coverage to people with cancer and PTSD. Efforts to include chronic pain were removed in the Senate. Wow. Expanded to include people with cancer. Why didn't it start right from the beginning with cancer? What the?
Yeah, this is Texas we're talking about.
Holy shit! What's on it then?
Yeah, it's a minority controlled, and they control everything basically. It's very, very hard to get anything done there. While better work and cannabis reforms could win out in November, the state's conservative grip still appears strong. I can't even begin to speculate on how our election is going to go this year, especially with the recent news of a Republican flipping a historically Democratic district in the Rio Grande Valley. Sheda Torabi, CEO of Restart CBD and host of the To Be Blunt podcast. In mid-June, GOP candidates Mayra Flores flipped the typically Democratic seat during a special election.
The state GOP also made waves in June when its new party platform included claims against the 2020 election, condemning gay marriage and calling to repeal voting rights.
Yeah, they're going backwards. Wow. That's what this is problem with minority rule, you know.
Oh crap.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, with results not coming for several months, we're left to wait and see what will unfold while waiting. Normal's James reports, knowing of several companies waiting to capitalize on what could be a lucrative Texas market.
Rather than just waiting, she urges those companies to get involved. The activists are here and on the ground doing the work, and we need to make sure that the businesses and the people in positions of power are supporting that work.
Oh, wow. That's what I can say about that. Wow. Yeah, I'm just moving things around on the screen here. Getting ready to go to break. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're good to go. Just so you know, I put that story into the number 9 slot, the one that.
That's perfect because I already had it there.
Well, now that we've experienced that, because that's the first time that's happened to me where the stories were crossed up. Maybe next time what we'll do is go with the story that's on the screen. It's just easier for you to click your tab versus me to unset and reset everything. So now we learn from things like that. So all's good. All right, off to break we go, as it's medication time, which means we're going to hear from our sponsors, and Glenn and I'll be right back after the break. You're listening or maybe watching the Reefer Reporters here on the Pace Radio Network. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Hi folks, Scott from stfattiesday.com here, and we're absolutely stoked to tell you about our brand new program called Pass the Peace Pipe and our partnership with Legacy 420 out of Tyndonega. We are absolutely proud to be partners with these people. They are an amazing group that have helped so many people with their amazing cannabis medicinal products. And we are working together to gather funds to build the first ever Indigenous specific opioid addiction center here in the Bay of Quinte area on Tyndonega land. So we need your help. We need you to repost this video and go to our GoFundMe campaign, because on this October 17th, St. Fatty's Day, we are going to be starting the campaign where we pass the peace pipe from one side of the country to another to unite our country, to gather awareness, but most importantly funds to build opioid addiction centers across the nation, one build at a time.
In February of 2022, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and Ted Smith were fined $6.5 million. This for helping 8,500 patients with access to medical cannabis. In our interview with Ted, he spoke to us about how people can donate to help in an upcoming court challenge. And here is part of that interview. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
For now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation or send e-transfers to save the VCBC at gmail.com. I guess those are the two easiest ways for people to help right now.
Growing your own cannabis is easier than you think. Whether you're growing for recreational or medical purposes, BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. From the standard 4-plant recreational systems to the latest cutting-edge hydroponic equipment, BMA can customize your package and do it at discount prices. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville and ask us for a free estimate. Or call 613-967-9888 and we will give you an estimate over the phone.
The only way to go.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net. Hey, we're back for a medication break, and we are the Reefer Reporters. And if you miss our live shows, don't forget they're always available afterwards as a podcast at paceradio.net. All right, we got 5 more stories here to go, Glenn. We had lots of messages from from a fellow there. I just got to read some of them there during the break. Sorry, buddy. Couldn't get to them during the broadcast. A little busy. All right.
Anything positive?
Yeah, there was lots of stuff there. I just couldn't get through it all during the broadcast. So,
Yeah.
live. Sometimes it's just so many things are going on. That's all. So, let's see. Get started here. And our first story from after the break. Headline from the Marijuana Moment says Senators blast Biden administration's extraordinary disappointing marijuana stance.
A coalition of 6 U.S. senators are renewing their call for the Biden administration to deschedule cannabis and grant mass pardons for people with federal cannabis convictions, calling the Justice Department's response to an earlier request for action extraordinarily disappointing. In a letter that was sent to President Joe Biden, Attorney General Merrick Garland and Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra on Wednesday, the senators made a dual request. First, that the Attorney General work independently to remove cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act. And second, that the president issue mass clemency for people with nonviolent federal cannabis convictions.
Senator Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Cory Booker, Ron Wyden, Ed Markey, and Christian Gillibrand signed the new letter. The senator said the DOJ took 6 months to expand the previous October 2021 letter, urging the Attorney General to use his authority to unilaterally start the process of federally descheduling cannabis. The half-page response was extraordinarily disappointing, they wrote.
In April 2022 response letter, DOJ cited the fact that HHS has yet to determine that cannabis is safe and effective therapeutic treatment option. The senator said the agency used that as the sole rationale for Department of Justice lack of action, which ignores the ability of the DOJ and Drug Enforcement Administration to begin the descheduling process and act independently of an HHS determination.
The senators explained how Garland is actually empowered under the CSA to request an HHS scientific review of cannabis. A subsequent descheduling recommendation would be binding on the DOJ. But even if the recommendation is to keep cannabis in Schedule 1 or move it to a lower schedule, that's not binding for the Attorney General, who could then start a rulemaking process to remove cannabis from the CSA altogether.
Put simply, the DOJ need not wait on any HHS determination to begin this process, they wrote. Moreover, it is obvious that cannabis has widely accepted medical benefits affirmed by medical and scientific communities both here and across the globe. The letter also talks about the widespread public support of cannabis legalization and the economic, racial justice, public safety, and health benefits that states have seen after legalizing cannabis. Further, the senators referenced Biden's unfulfilled campaign pledge to decriminalize marijuana, expunge prior cannabis records, and reschedule the plant under the CSA.
When the letter turns to the issue of mass clemency for people with federal cannabis convictions, several senators, including Warren and Markey, had sent a letter to President in November 21, calling on Biden to grant blanket pardons to the thousands of people with federal cannabis convictions on their records. But to date, the administration has not sent a response. The senators said in the new letter that Biden's initial action to grant clemency to 78 people, including some with marijuana records, was commendable. But much more has to be done to address the racist and harmful legacy of cannabis policies in the Black and brown communities.
The legacy of the war on drugs is pervasive, they said, citing reports on racial disparities in cannabis enforcement. The administration's failure to coordinate a timely review of its cannabis policy is harming thousands of Americans, slowing research, and depriving Americans of their ability to use cannabis for medical or other purposes, the senator said. We ask that the Biden administration act quickly to rectify this decade-long injustice, harming individuals, especially Black and brown communities.
The recent appointed U.S. pardon attorney weighed in on the prospects of mass cannabis clemency last week, telling the Marijuana Moment that her office handles cases independently, but it could be empowered to issue broader communications or pardons if directed by the president. Biden has received about a dozen letters from lawmakers, advocates, celebrities, and people impacted by criminalization to do something about the people who remain behind the federal bars over cannabis.
At a House Judiciary Committee oversight hearing in May, Chairman Jared Nadler, who's a Democrat from New York, and other Democratic lawmakers stressed the need for reforming the federal clemency process, calling for applications to be streamlined to make it easier for people with nonviolent federal drug convictions to get relief. Last year, a coalition of congressional lawmakers introduced the Fair and Independent Experts in Clemency Act, a bill that would take clemency review away from the Justice Department and instead establish an independent board appointed by the president. The report published by the Congressional Research Service last year affirmed that the president has within his power to grant mass pardons for cannabis offenses. It also said that the administration can move to federally legalize cannabis without waiting for lawmakers to act.
Yes, yeah, executive powers, but part of without the executive power end of things, if they wanted to go around another way, they have to take it out of the Schedule 1.
Yeah, that's the first thing that has to be done. It has to be removed from there.
Yeah, because they can't legalize it without Schedule 1 according to the law.
Yeah.
We had a report on that on Monday. It's just they got a law that says that you can't make it legal.
Seems like the only people that can get pardons down there are people that actually do criminal acts.
Yeah, it's just we got to get it so it's legal. It's just this is crazy. Let's see, where were we? The White House has been asked about the issue several times. Former Press Secretary Jen Psaki has said that the president has every intention of using clemency power and is looking at relief for nonviolent drug offenses. Rafael Gupta, Director of Office of National Drug Control, that's the ONCP, said last month that the Biden administration is monitoring states that have legalized cannabis to inform federal policy, recognizing the failures of the current prohibitionist approach.
Meanwhile, Senator Brian Schatz, who's a Democrat from, HI, recently asked the Attorney General about any plans to revive the prior guidance at a hearing and in a follow-up letter. Garland said in response that the Justice Department is examining cannabis policy and will be addressing the issue in the days ahead, but he didn't directly comment on the reinstating a specific memo. A bipartisan group of congressional lawmakers filed a bill in April that would direct the Attorney General to create a commission charged with making recommendations on a regulatory system of cannabis that models what's currently in place for alcohol.
Rep. Dave Joyce, Hakeem Jeffries, and Brian Mast teamed up what's titled the Preparing Regulatories Effectively for a Post-Prohibition Adult Use Regulatory Environment Act. Wow. It's called Prepare Act. Prepare Act is a lot easier to say for sure.
Yeah.
An incremental reform meant to inform comprehensive cannabis policy changes in the future. On Tuesday, a coalition of current and former cannabis regulators sent a letter to the Biden administration imploring officials to instate updated guidance to federal prosecutors on cannabis enforcement priorities as an interim step while Congress considers broader legislation to end prohibition. Like, holy smokes, come on, man.
It's only been decades. Things move slow. In April, the House for the second time passed a comprehensive legalization bill, the Cannabis Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act. On the Senate side, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and colleagues are working to finalize similar legislation, which they plan to file ahead of the August recess. High-level talks are reportedly underway for alternative and arguably more passable approach, with bicameral and bipartisan lawmakers discussing the possibility of moving a package of incremental cannabis reform measures that would stop short of descheduling marijuana, which means nothing. None of that. Deschedule it means nothing.
Separately, several Republican members of Congress introduced a bill last November to federally legalize and tax cannabis as an alternative to far-reaching Democratic-led reform proposals and scaled down GOP cannabis descheduling legislation.
And we go around in a circle.
They've got everybody screaming at them. We know we've done a report recently where the bankers have been screaming at them in order to make changes. They've got everybody. It seems to be someone's just got to pull the trigger on this. Like, come on.
I think they're afraid. They're afraid to pull the trigger on it. They're afraid to change things.
Fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown. Like, just look around.
All they have to do is look at Canada. Did we fall into craziness once they legalized? No.
They've got all their, they got what, 38 or 40 states with medical cannabis.
Yep.
They've got another 20 states with legal recreational cannabis.
But they have 1/3 of the population that wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah, they sort of mentioned that. Yeah, okay, we're taking in this information. We're studying this. We're doing this, but there seems to be no action if they're taking in all this input.
There's money on the other side that people don't think about. The policing and the law, the courts, the prison systems all make unbelievable amounts of money because of cannabis. And if you remove that, then all that money is gone. All those jobs are gone, and that's huge. I think that's the problem in the end.
Oh, it's just crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. That's all I can see. All right, on to some good stories. Again, back to this one. This one's to the MJ Biz Daily. 7/10, the other marijuana holiday, boosting retail sales.
And cannabis concentrates are on the rise. Young consumers are helping concentrates grab a greater market share in mature cannabis states such as Oregon, and Colorado. And there's two great big graphs. Yep.
Yeah.
Step aside 420. There's another unofficial marijuana-related holiday that retailers can take advantage of. 7/10 or Dab Day is dedicated to cannabis users who prefer concentrates such as live resin, shatter, or hash rosin, to name a few.
Dab Day, 3 days ago. 3 days ago. All right. The name for the unofficial holiday, which falls on a Sunday this year, comes from the word oil turned upside down, forming the numbers 7/10. According to the Seattle-based business intelligence platform Headset, concentrate sales increased by 67% on July the 10th, 2021, while rosin sales increased by 213%.
Wow.
Versus the preceding 4 Saturdays. Wow.
That's a big rise.
It's an increase.
7/10 tends to be the third biggest sales period of the year, particularly as awareness around the day and interest in the concentrates category grows, said Stephen Jung, Chief Operating Officer of San Francisco-based vape pod maker PAX. This is especially true in more established cannabis markets like California. 420 and Cyber Week, tied to the Thanksgiving holiday, are respective first and second biggest sales periods of the year, according to Jung.
Many retailers across the cannabis sector are running promotions for 7/10, including C3 Industries, an Ann Arbor, Michigan-based multi-state vertical integrated company. According to Jason Berkstock, who's the vice president of retail for them, says it's a holiday that I think every cannabis retailer needs to take advantage of. The folks we look at as competition are absolutely participating.
While not nearly as many cannabis users celebrate 7/10 as they do 420, it still offers a good opportunity for retailers to run promotions, provide consumer education, and sell more concentrates. It's not as aggressive as the spike we see on 420, but we definitely see a nice uptick, a nice increase in sales on 7/10, Birkenstock said.
According to Brightfield Group, a Chicago-based emerging markets research company, about 25% of all cannabis consumers have used concentrates within 6 months of the survey date, which varied as the report covered a compilation of data going back to the first quarter of 2020. The number has stayed relatively consistent from before COVID-19 and until now, which is quite surprising as we're seeing other things increase like vapes and gummies, according to Matt Scallon, the cannabis insight analyst for Brightfield.
Another thing to consider here is that cannabis users as a whole have been increasing. In other words, concentrate users tend to consistently make up about a quarter of the cannabis retailers' consumer base, even as the market expands. While only 7% of cannabis users told Brightfield that celebrating 710 was important to them, compared with 20% that's the same for 420, it can still make a sizable jump in sales volume. Headset also reported that concentrates take up to 8.3% of the U.S. cannabis market share. Gen Z and millennial males tend to be the biggest concentrate consumers, 14.4% and 11.6% of the total wallet share, respectively.
It's also important to note, according to Headset, the U.S. consumers vastly prefer live rosin over other types of concentrates at 34%, compared with rosin at 12%, shatter at 7%, hash at 2%.
Now, do you use live rosin?
No.
Oh, I don't. What is live rosin? I don't understand what that is.
I'm not down on all the technology of the live rosin end, but let's just say it's created with fresher, newer. It comes with the plant. It's been, my understanding, it's frozen, and then
Okay.
yeah, well, it's still alive. Not hasn't been dried and cured like rosin.
Yeah. Okay.
Plant
Besides
live.
being an opportunity to sell more products through discounts and promotions, 710 can be an opportunity to create new concentrate users by educating consumers who are coming in to buy flower or edibles. That's me. You got to educate me.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I know here in Havelock, one of the two stores here, they are having a rosin, like a rosin day, where you can go in and learn and all that, how to do the press and how to create your own rosin.
And the rosin days, I hope they're doing it on 710.
No, actually, they're not.
Oh.
It would be nice. I think it's the 15th, I think. Yeah.
They missed it by 5 days.
Yeah, exactly. I should go in and say, hey, you got to do this on Sunday when you're closed. Well, they might be open on Sunday. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. Well, concentrates traditionally appeal to more seasoned cannabis users. New extraction technology and improved processing methods have evolved to the point where a user does not need the traditional torch and dab nail rig setup to use concentrates. Those consumers can opt to use products such as vape pens and still cartridges, which can be easier to use.
For a lot of customers, they may be uncomfortable with it because they're not familiar with the dab rigs, all the tools needed to enjoy a concentrate, Birkenstock said. That was one reason C3 decided to make its own in-house dab cartridges instead of 710, or ahead of 710, something retailers who were vertically integrated with cultivation arms can take advantage of, he added. Additionally, consumers can be introduced to concentrates through products such as infused pre-rolls or rosin gummies.
710 is an opportunity to get someone to try concentrates through our lens, Brightfield Scolin said. It should also be noted that as a perishable products, concentrates do go bad and lose taste, especially if they are improperly stored. Oh, I haven't had them around long enough to find out. So 710 is a good opportunity for retailers to unload older products before their expiration dates. Someone is being left behind if they're not participating in 710, according to Birkenstock. Yeah, I know. I use them. I don't store them for long periods. You know,
I don't think many people are storing them for long periods.
No. I can say I did have one experience where I did store it too long. Just one experience, and yeah, it did go funny. So yeah. It was such a long time ago, but yeah, there was one experience. Long time ago. All righty. You ready for the next one? All right. This one comes to us from Mugglehead Magazine. American financial analysts report high cannabis sales on the 4th of July weekend.
A multi-surface software company with a passion for the cannabis industry recently revealed some compelling data showcasing the ever-growing popularity of recreational bud in the United States. On Wednesday... Sorry?
I was going to say, gee, that first week of July is going to be really good for concentrates and stuff because July 4th and then Dab Day, like 3 days apart.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. I never
you
thought of it
know,
that way. But
yeah,
it's true. On Wednesday,
yeah.
Akerna announced that business intelligence collected by the software giant and its family of companies showed that consumers in the U.S. have spent $255.5 million on recreational cannabis last weekend alone.
On Friday, while northern neighbors were celebrating the national holiday, a record 106 million in sales were recorded across 50 states. It's up 19% from the 89% 89 million from the previous year.
106 million in one day.
Yeah, yeah. Akron says there's a quote here: "Holiday after holiday, our data indicates Americans are choosing to celebrate with cannabis. As more markets legalize cannabis and more people gain access to the plant, we expect these year-over-year increases to continue."
Akerna is an enterprise software company primarily concerned with propelling the cannabis industry forward. Founded in 2010, the company has its subsidiaries proudly serve the cannabis, CBD, and hemp industries. Akerna also claims to have closely monitored over US $30 billion in cannabis sales since its formation and offers a comprehensive series of expert consulting services and data analytics for business establishment. Akerna is the first cannabis software company listed on the NASDAQ exchange.
Yeah, the Akron Flash Report that provided the recent data regarding American cannabis consumers observes purchasing trends in the cannabis market via Akron's MJ Analytics system. MJ provides cannabis supply chain data, business insights, and derived from the category administration methodology and normalized data.
Yeah,
Everybody likes data.
yeah.
Yeah.
The world runs on data.
Data. Yes. Well, that is information, right? Okay.
We had a couple good stories.
Yes, got some good ones. Had some good ones today. Not all sad stories or negative stories, which
Negative.
sometimes that happens. All right, on to our next story, which comes to us from StratCan, and that headline says, "How are cannabis retailers standing out in the crowd?"
Cannabis retailer is facing some serious challenges as many markets in Canada reaching its saturation. Locally owned stores are often in direct competition with well-resourced chains. Nevertheless, the sector is fragmented. No company controls over 5% of the market, and all retailers are seeking innovative ways to differentiate themselves. There is often a lack of distinction with cannabis stores, says Unity Marguerite Whitaker, who operates Oceanside Seaweed in Parkdale on Vancouver Island. In Parksville, we have our 4 really good stores, one of which is government owned, and each of which has a different point of view. That's why it works.
Whitaker says that one of the Oceanside Seaweed's key differentiators is its approach to accessories. We've created, she says, for example, a lot of our customers are seniors, so we sell magnifying glasses to help them read the labels.
That's good.
Hey,
I need those.
there you go. That's creative.
You know what?
Yeah,
I have to
you
take a
do.
picture of it with my phone and then blow it up so I can read it.
Well, there you go. Exactly. Yeah, because it is a very small print because there's so much stuff that has to be on that label that the font's got to be tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good of them.
That's smart magnifying glass. That's really smart.
Exactly. Let's see. Where was I? Signing glasses. I think I moved the story. Yeah. There's often a lack of distinction with cannabis stores. You mentioned that. Okay. Glasses. Okay, there we go. And that's just the tip of the iceberg to say. Oceanside Seaweed also sells candies, high-end cannabis magazines, trays, ice cube makers, drink caddies, bottle openers, shirts that have pockets for doob tubes, and lighters, scissors for trimming joints, and reusable cotton swabs to clean bongs and dab rigs, among the other things. Reusable cotton swabs.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't want to really use I clean my bong with stuff. I don't want to reuse it ever again.
I'm just thinking, like, then you would have reusable cotton swabs, and then how would you clean the swab? Because
I don't know.
Oil and stuff. It doesn't. You'd have to soak that in some type of
alcohol, I guess.
Alcohol.
Yeah.
To Come on. I don't know. I have to look into those someday. Okay, continue on.
We even sell chopsticks to pull buds from containers and necklace pokers to tamper joints, says Whitaker. It makes it fun and interesting and helps to support sales. Still, the lack of broader thinking within retail kind of blows my mind. There are many, many products that function as cannabis accessories.
Oh, yeah.
It's true. And I go
It's
into
true.
stores all the time. They have no accessories, none.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And
And
I
you know,
think they're missing the market.
why not sell apples?
Yeah.
So people can make apple joints.
I think they're
apple
missing
filters.
they're missing the mark on it. This is a good,
That's right.
good business
That's right.
thing.
I smoked from an apple. All right.
From our early days, we were an accessories retailer. That's why they came from the other side, says Andy Palalas, Chief Executive Officer at High Tide, which owns the Canna Cabana retail chain and currently has 126 stores across Canada. We've been around cannabis for a long time, and from the start, we were of the firm opinion that cannabis enthusiasts who were buying bongs and pipes previous to legalization would also be our customers in a regulated market. The same message is sent from opposite ends of the retail spectrum. To thrive, store owners would do well to sell with an eye to the larger consumer experience.
In Canada, the cannabis retail market has matured to the point where consumers are being segmented. Segmented, such as in other consumer goods. Some big chains like Value Buds and Canna Cabana are hoping to capture the discount market. Other chains like Spirit Leaf, Choom, and Tokyo Smoke provide a more tailored experience. Meanwhile, independent operators are as unique as their owners, with many working hard to differentiate themselves from the larger or from bigger brands.
Yeah. There's essentially 4 pillars for differentiation, says Mike Dunn, who, along with his partner Brooks Silversides, runs 1922, an independent cannabis retailer in Old Town Toronto. The first location, the first is location, the second is in-store aesthetic, the third is inventory, and the fourth is people. That last one is important. The people working in our store need to feel that they're cared for and supported. 1922 is named after the last year that cannabis was legal in Canada. The interior aesthetic suits its Toronto neighborhood, incorporating traditional Art Deco elements. In 2020, 1922 won Ad Can's Storefront Brand of the Year for Canada, beating out over 400 other nominees.
Oh. And now, according to Don, he says, if your proof of concept works really well in Calgary and Edmonton, that's great. But does that work in downtown Toronto? In 2018, the market was heavily weighed to speed. Now, 4 years later, you need a clear strategy for where to put a store. From there, with increased institutional knowledge, once you really get to know your customer, it's possible to scale. In this regards, Choom cautionary tale. The 11-store retail chain has stores in BC, Alberta, and Ontario, all of which have an aesthetic build around Hawaiian surf culture. The company sought creditor protection in early May, receiving an interim financial loan of $800,000 from licensed producer Aurora.
In the most recent filing, the company alluded to 2 main challenges. First, the opening of new cannabis retail stores continues to outpace market growth, in particular in Ontario, where there are nearly 1,400 cannabis retail licenses in circulation, relative to 65 in 2020. Secondly, loss-leading price retailers continue their focus on buying market share. This was most prevalent in the Alberta market. Choom has also noted that according to its own data, the 3 most important attributes for consumers are product selection, store location, and friendly and knowledgeable staff. Price was in fourth place. This suggests that, with proper execution, smaller stores stand a chance against the big chains.
The bigger stores' views tend to be a bit binary, according to Dunn. They can have a dramatically reduced ability to differentiate due to scale and complexity. That said, the bigger players are embracing analytics, the idea being that cannabis can function much like any other consumer packaged good. Examples include High Tide's Cabanalytics and Fire and Flower's High Fire consumer technology.
Retail outlets are also expanding to include delivery. In case of Fire and Flower, the company's wholly owned subsidiary, Pineapple Express Delivery, now offers 60-minute delivery service in some parts of Canada. Retail chain Superette has taken a simpler approach, partnering with DoorDash Technologies Canada Inc. in Toronto. This trend is now becoming normalized, with scores of retail locations supporting local delivery services. Delivery of both cannabis and accessories from online orders is just part of brick and mortar retail now, said Palalas from High Tide, adding that Canna Cabana is adding in-store kiosks for people who know exactly what they want and don't need the assistance of a bud tender.
And in many cases, all purchases, whether online or in-store for cannabis or accessories, can accrue value with loyalty programs. As in any business, capturing customers is the hard part. After that, it makes sense to build incentives that keep coming back. According to Cannabis Benchmark, as of March of this year, Canada had 3,138 cannabis stores. Over a 1 year period, this represents an increase of 1,344 stores, an astounding 75% growth rate. During the first quarter of this year, an average 74 new stores were opening each month, though this pace has slowed. 127 stores were opening on a monthly basis the year before. It is likely not sustainable eventually. Some smaller fish will be swallowed or go belly up, and which is very true. That's 3,100 stores across the country.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that there's 3,100 stores and 1,400 are in Ontario.
Yeah, and there's only like one cannabis store for medical patients.
Wow.
20 years we've had medical cannabis.
Yeah.
One store.
There is greenfield available, but right now mergers and acquisitions are what's really attractive, says Palalas. In retail, location is king. A lot of people are looking to exit the business. We're well aware of how challenging retail cannabis can be because we battle it every day. We remain on an aggressive growth trajectory. There are some notable provincial distinctions. Alberta, for example, has an astounding 757 stores, of which 155 were added in the last year. So some attrition can be expected. By comparison, Quebec, which has double the population, but where legal cannabis products can only be sold through government-run Société Québécoise du Cannabis outlets, has only 89 stores.
Yeah, I know, right? In other markets, the big retail chains will battle it out. Battle it out. And smaller independent stores that uniquely match their local customer base, like 1922 and Ocean Seed Seaweed, will have a good chance of surviving. Just so on a note on that, being local, I know that the one store in Camelford, it has a big picture on one wall. It takes up the whole wall, and it's the Randy Gorge. It's the river south of town.
Nice.
So it brings the the local stuff into the store.
Yeah.
But they were a retailer that were more like just go up to the counter and ask for it, whereas two of the other stores in town are more like the Apple store, where you can go up to a counter and you have like an iPod thing or whatever that you can do it with.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. We'll just stop that story right there, and we'll go on to our last story of the day. How's that?
Sure.
Sure. This is. I have to create that video that we talked about the last show, the mushy moments video. That's right. Because here we go with our last story of the day. According to almlaw.com, cannabis 2 hesitation greets measure to legalize psychedelic mushrooms.
In New Jersey, we had a very tight cannabis system. In the psilocybin bill, I'm not sure. I see the same rigor in terms of demonstrating a need for it, says Scott Coffina, a former Burlington County prosecutor. And what you need to know, the bill would legalize psilocybin.
Don't need to read that.
Okay.
Drop down.
With the paint barely dry on the first state-approved stores selling recreational cannabis in New Jersey, the architect of legislation legalizing that drug made another bold proposal, a bill to legalize psilocybin, better known as psychedelic mushrooms.
Yeah, the other stuff was bullet points. So.
Okay.
They were links to other stories. The lengthy process to establish an infrastructure to produce and regulate cannabis in New Jersey has provided abundant opportunities for New Jersey attorneys, but some observers are less than bullish about S 2934 Senate President Nicholas Karady's Psilocybin Behavioral Health Access and Services Act. The bill, which would allow... Okay, go ahead.
The bill, which would allow use of psilocybin for those 21 and older, establishes a regulatory scheme similar to the one that governs the recreational marijuana industry in New Jersey. The bill is premised on the use of psilocybin to treat depression, anxiety, and end-of-life psychological stress. But the bill is unclear on what steps consumers would have to take to obtain psilocybin, said Scott Kofina, a former Burlington County prosecutor who is with Montgomery, Kraken, Walker, and Rhodes in Cherry Hill.
Kofina said he's concerned that New Jersey's mushroom legislation appears to be modeled on the medical cannabis law, but the mechanism to qualify as a buyer and the role of the user's doctor are unclear. Kofina said he fears the New Jersey mushroom program could turn out like the early days after California legalized medical cannabis, which nearly anyone could qualify for a medical card requiring to buy the drug.
As I understand it, it's based on the medical cannabis system. It's not as stringent as that. In New Jersey, we had a very tight medical cannabis system. In the psilocybin bill, I'm not sure I see the same rigor in terms of demonstrating a need for it, Kofina said. Kofina also notes that the bill calls for mushroom users to partake of the product at a service center, which would make them unable to drive. But no provision is made for how the user will safely return home. That's brilliant.
Kofina, who owns a Burlington County prosecutor, who was a Burlington County prosecutor from 2017 until April of this year, said his office rarely prosecuted defendants for possession of psilocybin, which, like marijuana, was generally dealt with as a disorderly person's offense at municipal court. Mushrooms are far less concerning than cocaine or heroin, he says. The bill also allows for home cultivation of psilocybin for individual use. There you go.
Yeah.
But Kofina expresses concerns that growing mushrooms at home will lead to uncontrolled quality and potency and will make it easier for children to access the product. Oh,
then you better stop everybody from brewing their beer at home then.
Yeah, that was the same concerns when it came to cannabis.
Yeah. It's the same crap, and you can make alcohol at home, you can make beer at home, but you can't grow mushrooms or pot. That's crazy.
Yeah, and kids can access the homemade alcohol too. So
that's what we always hear. It's about the kids, It's about
I know. Yeah. Okay, continue.
He also raises concerns that allowing use of psilocybin will lead to some users to move on to harder drugs. That's another one of them they've used.
Another one.
As someone who's been on the front lines of the opioid epidemic, I'm hesitant over any law that sends a message to people, particularly young people, that it's okay to put chemicals into your body to feel better, to change how you're doing. To me, it inhibits independent coping skills, and once this amount of ingestion, whether it's cannabis or mushrooms, isn't working, I think we could see an escalation to other drugs. Well, what happens when your beer doesn't take the same effect? They've used this for years, and it's all BS.
Yeah. It's just
if you eat food, then it'll lead to more food, and you'll be fat, so we'll ban food.
Yeah. Now he uses the word. He says it's not. He uses the word to put chemicals in your body.
Yeah.
What we're putting in our body is a whole plant.
And I don't even consider it chemicals. It's a whole, like you said, a whole plant. That's what it is.
It's a plant. So yeah, it's not a chemical. Chemical is man-made.
Well, lettuce is made up of chemicals too, if you want to go like that.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Hamburgers, you eat anything you eat's that.
Yeah. Well, especially hamburger, everything that's
depending where you get it. If you go to McDonald's, I don't know what's in that.
Neither do I. Let's see. If psilocybin is legalized in New Jersey, the market for it will be a fraction of the size of the cannabis market, says Charles Gormley, co-chair of the Cannabis Industry Practice Group at Bach Elkler in Roseland. It's not going to be cannabis 2. If you think about it, the cannabis opportunity attracted accountants and lawyers because essentially you're taking a multi-billion-dollar business that used to be a felony and turning it into a business in New Jersey. You don't have that size of market dealing with psychedelics or psilocybin products like mushrooms or LSD or anything else like that. There is an interest in it, though, Gorman said.
I would be suspect if New Jersey were going to move a bill like that. I would hope first that they focus on getting cannabis right. Get the market up and running, see how it operates, see whether you achieve your social justice goals, which are a very important part of the cannabis regime in New Jersey. And if you want to liberalize or decriminalize possession or some type of psilocybin, have at it. It's not a widely used product. Gormley says the appeal of psilocybin as a recreational drug is limited because in full doses, it's an extremely powerful agent. It's not on the same planet as cannabis. Gormley also laments the bill's call to create an 18-member psilocybin behavioral health access and services advisory board. Wow. Playing a role analogous to the Cannabis Regulatory Commission that was formed to oversee the sale of recreational cannabis. Calling that proposal terrible, Gormley says, the one thing you don't need is more agencies that regulate a single limited market. I think it's not a prudent way to approach opportunities like this.
The efforts to legalize recreational cannabis enjoyed wide public support in New Jersey, but it's unclear whether they will be the same case with mushrooms, according to Mecca Rasmussen, director of Rubafich Institute of New Jersey Politics at Rider University in Lawrenceville. Rasmussen says he's surprised about the timing of the mushroom bill, which was introduced June the 23rd. It would be wise to learn from the lengthy process of building consensus over recreational cannabis and developing a regulatory framework before that went on sale to the public.
I'm sure the Senate president will say he has learned from the process, but it is one that is still unfolding and finding its sea legs and being worked out. So the timing is a bit of surprise, Rasmussen said. In addition to approval of recreational cannabis was widely premised on social justice, since people of color were arrested for cannabis offenses far more than whites. Rasmussen said, unless I'm missing something, that is not likely to be an argument with regard to who is using mushrooms or who is being arrested for them and why they shouldn't be arrested. It's hard for me to see social justice as part of this discussion. Well, if someone's being arrested for something that's not harmful, then that's a problem.
Yeah, I think what they're looking at it as when they compare it to the cannabis, and they say that people, black and brown people are victimized more by the laws, and they're saying they don't see that when it comes to the mushroom end of things.
Nobody's giving me any figures on anything. They have figures for the percentage of people in like the percentage of people for cannabis offenses, nonviolent. They have actual figures for that, which they would have for people who are arrested for mushrooms too. So give us the figures and let us make the decisions.
Correct. Yeah, I'd like to see some numbers, and we don't have any to provide to anybody so far, anyways, by looks of it.
Yeah. So what they're saying is that none of it's worth a grain of salt because they're not giving us the numbers, and they have them.
Yeah, that's right. It says here, Rasmussen says it's unclear how this is going to play among voters. It is a bit of an assumption that cannabis is the same as mushrooms in the voter's mind. I think Secretary deserves credit for being bold, but I would wonder whether this is what voters consider to be their priority. I wonder if voters, being that so many people, consumed cannabis over the years and all that, it was easier for them to accept it, and they might look at mushrooms as more of in that psychedelic realm of things and think of it as a negative.
I think you're right there. Yeah, I think you're right there. I think most people that I know anyway personally have experienced cannabis, whether they use it or not now, they have tried it. So they knew what they were being told was BS from the beginning.
Yeah, right? Or if they know somebody, maybe they're not consuming the stuff, but maybe they know somebody who's a consumer.
But most people have tried it one time or another, at a party, whatever happened, and if they didn't, like you said, their friend tried it, their friend used it, and they can tell them about it. With mushrooms, it's a little different story.
That's right. And, the only way that more people can learn is by, more people speaking up the same way as they did with cannabis.
Yep.
Yeah. And, we are seeing that. So it's just not there like it was with cannabis, and it take time, I think. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Anything? That's right. I guess.
Oh, I'm losing you. That was a good time. You froze right at the end.
Oh, there we're back. Good stuff. All right. All right. Other than that, you have a safe trip. I'll send you my address,
Okay.
and we will be in touch. All
I'll
right?
see you later today.
I'll see you later today. We'll do a selfie so everybody can see that we got together. And once the closing is running, you can just go, man. Get on the road and get going here. Okay.
Peace.
No use waiting around to have to shoot the shit afterwards.
Okay.
We'll do that when you get here.
Bye, all.
Bye. We'll talk to you soon. That's our Reefer Report for July the 7th, 2022. In closing, we'd like to say thank you for watching or listening to our Cannabis News broadcast. Until the next time, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
Oh yeah, baby. That's lovely.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.